but over here. I guess it's time. All right. We're gonna call this Hill County Election Commission meeting to order. Oh, no, we're not. We're missing two people. Yeah, Nicole's here. Well, where's she at? Please. Text Miss Graves. Okay. Whoa, wait. Yeah. She's going to get pulled.
There's state of town to start, and then there's when the chair gathers in.
Yeah.
You two different things. Yeah, I don't know why our local. When some things are pretty good about it, we use some other projects that's not as.
Yeah.
We gotta go see my county commissioner.
Scotty,
You drive down some of the county roads and people that got really expensive houses, you'll see pavement. But they don't take care of the county road in that.
local. Maybe we can get together, maybe should see if the dance small.
No, man. No, man.
Hey,
Okay. Now we'll call this Hill County Commissioners Court or Elections Commission meeting to order. It's July 18th, 8:32 in the morning in the jury room. We do have a quorum present. First, I'd like to address today's meeting. Today's meeting is going to have to be purely a fact-finding meeting. Notifications weren't properly sent out to Mr. Torres. He was supposed to be notified 72 hours prior to this meeting. So we will not be able to take any action today. We'll be purely fact-finding. If we determine that action needs to be taken, we'll have to reconvene and take any action. All right. So we have an open forum. If agenda, anybody would like to speak in open forum? No. All right. Consent on agenda, action on minutes.
I don't remember the last, maybe it was the last meeting that we had in 24. It's been a while. Okay,
So
yeah.
we're gonna try to make these a little more scheduled.
I could have swore that, I'm like, there's no way, we did meet before that, but, I have the minutes, I just don't know them left out.
we met before the general election, that was it.
But I'd like
Okay.
to, I'd like for us to go ahead and put it on the calendar for the rest of this year and the following year. That way it's
Okay.
already set and we don't have to wonder when it's gonna
What is
happen.
your idea? I mean, are you gonna try to do quarterly meetings?
I would like to do that.
Okay.
I think that's the requirement.
Yeah.
Quarterly.
Unless something arises and we need to call special, then we'll do that, but I'd prefer to have it, that way it's on everybody's calendar.
Well, I do have those minutes, I'll just email them to everybody.
That'll work.
Yeah, that was.
So-
There wasn't a forum with that one.
We won't take any action on the minutes at this time.
Yeah.
It was March the 15th, I believe. I have the minutes. I just was like, there's no way.
But I don't
We-
think we had a quorum at that meeting, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
so
here.
we do just inform,
What do
no
you-
action to take.
It was for a demo.
Yes, yes. I was here.
Okay,
We were both here.
okay.
But
But
that's.
if, but
that's
the
three.
people didn't. They
One
didn't.
did
have
show,
it.
one did show.
That meeting, the last meeting that we did try to have about tenants will strand because of the.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
So-
No, I was at that. I do the minutes for that one. I just.
All right, so we're not gonna take any action on minutes at this time. We'll move on to our discussion items. Number one is discussion regarding the performance of elections administrator. The reason this meeting was called is I received a call from the Secretary of State in reference to voters registration. I've included in your materials here basically just a memorandum of what the Secretary of State told me, advised me of, and some questions that I had. I got answers from Mr. Torres, to those questions. So those are all included in your folder there. So I guess I'd like to open up the floor to any questions or discussion with Mr. Torres in reference to these from the secretary. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Torres?
Well, we just go through some process stuff, I guess, or do you, I mean, it's pretty detailed list of questions, you just want to kind of.
We just start off by what the Secretary of
Yeah,
State.
let me do
Okay.
that. Let me do a brief synopsis of what the Secretary Diana Kramer with the Secretary of State's office contacted me July 1st in reference to some concerns she had over the voter registration process in Hill County. She advised me that our elections office had failed to process or accept over 600 new voter registration applications since January 2025. These people would have been eligible to vote in the preceding elections. She went on to tell me that it shouldn't take too long to remedy this situation. The process isn't a super long process, but timing wise, they're implementing new software, revamping their software. So almost no action has been able to be taken to remedy the situation until probably at least next week, I'm guessing.
Based on the training yesterday, I'd say.
Yeah. So the holdup right now is nobody's fault. The discussion will be around the January till July 1st timeframe and those voter registration applications. The way that this was explained to me, because I wasn't exactly sure what she was talking about, was that when someone goes to change their driver's license address at DPS, they walk in, they go to the kiosk, they change their address, and they click, I want to register to vote. And this is where we're gonna have to get with Aaron, but then it sends something to the elections office saying this person wants to be registered to vote. Then it is on the elections office to somehow, and I do not know how this process works, accept that and make them eligible to vote in the county.
So when someone does this at the DPS and they send it into the state doesn't put them in the system?
No.
They send it all back to the counties for them to do it?
It will be forwarded by the state and then directed out to the paying counties.
Yeah, explain just for everybody so updated about why you are updating voter registration at the county level. To Tom's question, why does the state do that?
Yeah, none of that, I mean, otherwise we would have a job. There we go.
It goes down to the local level. The voter registration is really
Before
the responsibility of the local county.
Before when I first started, I would actually have to walk to the DPS office and pick up the applications and come back. Work. At that time, I was wondering if I had a staff point up. At this point now, the state system has it to where an ad can be done at any one time, anytime anybody does the registry. Those are renew some driver's license.
Do you still get the? Yeah, I know, but do you still get an update if they're current, like if I were to just walk in there with my daughter who was like, well, I thought I was registered to vote, I'm gonna check yes. And so if she's already registered to vote, does it still give you that person?
And.
Or the 600 brand new?
When we're actually going through and processing each one individually, pop up, populate the information, whether or not they're registered in our county or in another county. At that point, we have to, compare the information on what's already there to the one that we're actually processing to make sure that it's the same person. When they would go through the processing there. A lot of the times it's where it's not even a change, it's just where they don't.
Yeah, they just didn't know if they were registered, so they check yes anyway. So of the 600, do you know how many were actual brand new? No? Or you don't know how many were change of address that came in to the county?
I'm not without running reports, but I have to access that, and I tried to reach out to my rep, have to say, they, that the training and said, any reports we needed, run contact. I checked with Ms. Gomez, and she's like, can't do anything, or she said, go ahead and email me request. And I'll send them to you.
So has that been that way for how long?
I mean, since January or July 3rd is when the system, like, when they took the old system down.
Oh,
And
The state is doing a big
Okay.
change on the voter registration thing, like, I got new email say, change your login. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the state.
they've updated in the time frame, that big. Years, and it's still the same system, this time it is new, different, every.
Yeah.
So since January 1st until this,
So
July.
what I can say is, as far as when she called you and said that there were 600 there, that is a true and accurate statement. As far as not being worse since January, that is incorrect. We worked it down as far as we could prior to May elections. We always work everything down as far as we can before an election starts. So when the May election rolled around, we were at our base level, just our issue streets.
but just a what? I didn't hear
Just
that.
our issue streets, so where we don't have the information in the system. So we need to get information. Yeah, all the streets that are coming in, since we are growing at an exponential rate, we have a lot of streets that we don't have in our state system. And this is what I am hearing to help mitigate that. The book was printed in 21, I got it 2 years after. Sheets. This is what we've been working out of it, three of us to try and mitigate the situation. But we just have too many streets right now. I mean, if we could get all the information, to clear those streets up in our system, we could process through the applications, no problem. But we get down to our issue streets, our voted streets that have problems, and
What would be one of the problems with the streets? Just out of curiosity.
they're brand new. We just want- Like,
So when you say they're brand new, like just because we deal with Karen a little bit with like OSSF permits and property. So the OSSF permits, you can't get a permit unless you have an address or,
and she's
know.
got all that information, but I know we've been trying to get with her, I know I tried, so if you guys go to this section, they're involved for us to gain access to that. I talked to Karen about it, she said, no, there's no way to hop up, what's that, pretty close to this. And so we've been talking about Hot and they've been telling us it shouldn't be an issue, that they could possibly provide us going forward with a file for a month. That would show us the roads, we did ask if they could possibly do that every 2 weeks for us. I know our rep there at Hot Dog said she was gonna reach out to Karen, see if that's some Karen providing one for.
And when was that discussion?
What's that?
When did you have that discussion?
I had emailed them shortly after this was brought to judge and I had him attached to it,
After the July?
after the phone call came in about the issue. I had also gone to Aaron to try and, see if I could gain access to her system back in April. After all of the applications had been worked out, and not how many applications we had with issues.
How long does it take you to work just from one, like just go to the one that everything just flows?
If everything's set up. Less than 2 to 3 minutes.
Your staff.
Ms. Parker?
Sorry.
No,
I
ma'am.
don't You remember the poem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that is a question I had wrote down. How long does it take to do one?
If everything is set up and correct and ready to go for us, it takes less than 2 minutes. As long as they provide us with all the proper information that we can, then both of this is right.
So,
that's what, I guess you go ahead.
well, no,
So when you're talking about the addresses that you get from Karen, Hill County Road 1212, like you already know where Hill County Road 1212 is, right? Because that part hasn't changed. Is it just
So
a number that's
it's gonna
being
be-
added to that?
So like our range is 400 to 650, and now we have in-house in, we don't have those numbers. So we need to get the information from Karen to go ahead and expand that street range so that. all
But
the
does that
sites-
change the precinct that they are gonna be in? I mean, I couldn't
Not
imagine
Necessarily, it depends on.
on a line or something.
If they're on boundary line, that's difficult, especially splitting roads, and if you have school districts that are on the same boundary line. There's sections of the county that has, one road will have 4 different school districts.
I couldn't imagine 600 of them would be affected by like the address in the road. These are just questions that I'm just, like, I've gone through in my head that, you know, of the 600, are there still 600 out there that, no?
No, we worked them down to about 240, within 2 days after that I received a phone call, so I was calling setting. We worked through, like, it's 75 that afternoon, and the next day the guys just running through.
So did you know about the 600 before the phone call?
They come and go, I mean, it fluctuates all the time, so yeah, where if they're there, we're down, and then I'll try back up.
So on the other end of this whole spectrum. I mean, we did have a very contentious, you know, races in the school and in the city. If someone comes in to vote and they are told that they are not registered to vote, then they are offered a provisional ballot.
Visual grants them the right to go ahead and vote. So like any one of those that were in the DPS applications could have voted provisional, and every one of the provisionals would have investigated from top to bottom.
So what is the investigation process? Do you go to those 600 and look through them?
We look them up individually to see where they are in the state, the registered at all. And then we have to input them into a DPS portal that searches to see if they actually registered through the DPS portal, if they registered online or if they registered in person. We also go through our test system online, it's another application section of the state system that gives us more applications, and even our in-house applications we brought in and mailed to us. So we have to check every one of them regardless of the fact, so even if they didn't end up on the list because we didn't get it processed in time, they still have the provisional option to get processed all the way through and for us to get them straightened out in the system.
And how many provisional ballots did we have? Do you know?
For Whitney, through.
Or just overall? I mean, it could have affected the bond election in Itasca. It could have, I mean, it could have affected several.
Don't recall the any I asked it. There's 3 half Whitney that I can recall. 2 of those they changed because we did find them. See that they should have already been in the system, so those were second and count. And that did ultimately change the outcome of the election.
So those were ones that part of the 600.
They were part of just regular application. Okay.
So we know of this because the state called me. What about the applications that come in not through DPS? How many of those are not processed at this time?
All of those that, like right before that, the election, every one of those that came in at due date when were processed before that election. And then everything was still worth having facts. Okay, those get processed as they're coming in.
How many? So you said you've been working them down and they build back up. When do the data dumps happen?
A lot of the times we'll see a significant increase of weekend. We can come back in over a weekend and see that there's been any worth monitor. If you need to come back in.
Just
How often
from
is
1
that?
week.
How often would you get that?
Like I said, it just happens over the weekend, otherwise trickle.
Like every weekend it happens?
I mean, that's a statewide system, any one of the DPS offices that process an application across the state, we automatically get it sent to us. It's not like before, we actually walk over and pick up from all one local state dumps on us and once anybody that's registered across the state.
to vote here though. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it goes to their corresponding.
Right,
units.
right. How many? You said they build back up and fluctuate. How many have been processed since January?
That was actually the report I was trying to see if I could get generated yesterday.
Cause we know you've done from July 3rd or July 1st to July 3rd, you guys worked it down to two something, correct? I'm wanting to know from January to July, how many were processed?
Yes, the request I was trying to get yesterday, so they still have access.
Well, give or take. 200.
Talking to the guys.
2,500.
A lot of them aren't actually updates, it's just when people don't remember, they are registered, we just did.
That's a lot of people. That's a real county.
Well, they go like this, they go to the renew the driver's license and they like, you said you're gonna re-register, they might mark, yes. Even though they are registered, there's a correct address, something needs to be done, there still is a trigger saying this needs to be checked. Because the person has to be registered, but, so, just like it's like her daughter, and most people, if they're going through, oh yeah, I want to be registered to vote. Well, if you're registered, you don't have, I mean.
Go check,
people-
yeah.
People would rather
Okay, to-
defer to be sure they're
Yeah.
registered than to say, I'm sure I'm okay.
Yeah.
So there could be, you know. I mean, that could happen all, and then, you know. How many registered voters do we have in Gillette County?
23,000,
Yeah.
23 for the last election. In November, it was 23,000 or something.
26.
Well, but anyway, it's,
26,877.
so. Only, you
So-
know, 6,000 vote, but there's 4 times that are registered. So-
I've seen instances where a person's gone in and redone their driver's license up to 3 times. And it'll be in.
Sure, they might be moving, changing addresses.
So why was the lady from the Secretary of State under the impression that they haven't been worked since January?
I didn't ask her that. She just told me that that was the case. She told me there was one other county in the state that had more than us. So,
So my question is, if they get that information every weekend from the DPS, why is SOS waiting so long to notify the county?
well, so that's, hold on, I got another question. Don't let me forget that one, because that was leading to a question. The other question I had written down was that we're not the only county in the state that is growing like leaps and bounds. So this is got to be a problem in 200, well, maybe not West Texas, but in a lot of counties. No, what I'm saying is everyone's getting new streets and roads. How are they dealing with this?
Said, I know when I first started, 911 coordinator might have asked me once. Working closely with our office, but at the time.
So have you contacted any election administrators from other counties to see what they're doing to
Not
cope with this issue? Okay, back to your question. If, so there is no, what accountability process is there or reporting that you have to do to the state except for them calling me when it's dire straits? Does that make sense? Like they called out of, you know, it was an emergency to them. Or that's the way she made me feel. And she's, like I said, she said one other county in the state of Texas had more unaccepted than we did. Which again, this is why I'm asking what other counties are doing, because if we're the second to last, I feel like there's an issue.
In our growth. Bless your hearts, in Hill County, it seems like it's a bunch.
Right.
When you compare something to say, Hayes County,
Williams.
Philmont County, I
Yeah.
mean, we're nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's some change happening, but on a sense of scale. It's minuscule to nothing. I mean, we
So-
think it's a bunch compared
Right.
to what we used to,
Right.
but from the question that the judge is asking is a systemic question, like, wait a minute. We're Hill County, okay, yeah, we're having change, but there's other sections of the state of Texas that are having exponential growth every day. How are they keeping up with it?
Right.
And what are they doing that we're not doing?
And why are we behind?
Yeah. Well, theoretically, we have such a smaller scale, it shouldn't be that big an issue to update the volume.
And if the holdup is the roads, and back to the county roads. I mean, unless it's on that line, you know where every county road is and what precinct it should be in. It's just the first few numbers that you don't have, right? So you can go ahead and it's the first few numbers that you don't have put into your system, right?
It's whatever house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they come in, they've already got an address that's been assigned to them. You know that it's on this county road in this precinct.
Yeah, but now out of that 600 were not a new address.
No, yeah.
The way you guys said, we don't know, oh, that's 600, how many?
But of the
or how
240
many
that are left are those new addresses?
I mean, to say, it isn't all of the above. It could be, I came in, I went to get my driver's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, my driver's like, yeah, re-registered, but nothing needed to change. It could be,
So how
I
long-
moved it within the county to a new address that's already established. Or it could be I'm new to the county with an existing address. And
Yeah,
I think a very small portion would be, I built a new house in Hill County. This is a brand new address in the 911 system. I mean, are there some of those? Sure. But with the scale of all people requesting registration, I would say it's less than 10%. I mean, that's just a
I would say
scientific
less
guess.
than 5, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, anyway.
So accountability, who do you, is there anyone that you're reporting to, a checks and balances of some sort beyond them calling?
No, and we have our rep, Tony, this is like the third or fourth one they've given us. We get used to them, we get a rep marked up and they change at. So Antonia is the one that is our point of contact with the state currently. Any issues we have, contact her, she called us up and, hey, these guys out. Moving about just, that's only started happening with the past year or so. That we've been getting. Representatives assigned. Since 2020, since we won all of the elections, we had the auto.
To directly answer your question, there is no. It is the responsibility of the election administrator to perform that duty. That duty constitutionally is the responsibility of the county clerk. Once a county decides to go to the election administrator, then it is the duty solely of the election administrator to perform that duty. And it is why elections commission was created, because he's not elected, you're elected, you're elected, you're elected, I'm elected by the party, he's elected by his party to oversee. But the ultimate responsibility to get that job done is election administrator. It's our duty to oversee that as the elected, and then to either provide direction, correction, or make a recommendation to commissioner's court.
So we are the checks and balances.
That is the reason that a elections commission is created for the state council. And the reason that we are is because the voter needs to have recourse. The only way a voter can have recourse is through an elected official.
Right.
So he is not elected, so there's not a direct relationship there.
Right.
But the commission of electeds then makes recommendation to the other set of electeds, which is commissioner's court.
So I guess the next,
So since you are the one that actually spoke to the lady. In your opinion, what do you feel was more egregious to her? The amount of applications that had been sitting in this queue, or the way she was spoken to?
that's a tough one.
Because
The
I feel like
number-
if
the
none of that
number-
had happened, this would not.
The
be.
number was concerning. The reason she called me, because she is not our local rep, was because the local rep felt like the office was unfriendly and unprofessional and handed it off to her supervisor.
Oh, so the supervisor.
This was the
person-
supervisor.
Okay, I didn't.
No,
know
the
that.
supervisor also talked
Oh,
with Mr. Torres and described it the same way, unfriendly and unprofessional, and that our elections office has that reputation at the SOS office.
do you know why she feels that way?
Really, I mean, it was one instance where I did. Kind of get irritated because. Obviously, what happened in the November election. We had 20 duplicates in there, we cleared those out, and then we had an influx of 15 that just popped up in the dashboard. I called and notified them, and she's like, "Huh, that's weird. Let me check into it." Okay. She goes and checks into it, she comes back, we're gonna need you guys to clear all these out, I want. So why should we have to clear this out, we need to create this issue. Like you guys are doing whatever you're doing, we've had the system and that created this glitch that caused this to happen. But I can understand it actually happened within the month or two after the election, but this is 6 months after, so anything we did. I don't feel like we should have clean stuff when we didn't do. That's really the only time that I remember actually being a bit heated with Fargo.
That stuff's just gonna happen. Wells Fargo duplicated one of my entire accounts and my ad valorem account, but there's millions and millions of dollars to go through and I had to go one by one and delete every transaction. That stuff's just gonna happen.
I was looking at it and going through one by one and finding no duplication whatsoever.
Hmm.
So I didn't even know how to clear out that. There was nothing for me to do because there was no duplicates. It was just reading that there was duplicates.
Well, I guess it's just me, but I just have a concern. The Secretary of State's office, the DPS reports to them. And then they send that information to you, or DPS sends it directly to
I'm
you.
not sure how the chain of custody works. Where it's sent from after the voter does the registration. Yes, but it gets flowed back to state, and the state flows it out to the individual counties.
Okay, well, this goes back to the question is why did they wait so long to do something? Because it's ultimately the responsibility of the state to make sure that anybody who registers, whether through DPS or otherwise, is in the system so they can vote within 30 days out.
Well, he's saying that, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be the election administrator's job.
Yeah, the Secretary of State collects the information. And they do not process the information. It is responsibility of the election administrator. Or the county clerk if the commission has not been picked to be done at the county, at the local level.
Yes, but how long did they sit on that before they send
He's saying
that?
that they dump it every weekend. I don't know.
We'll get some over the weekend, and larger dump over the weekend, but we'll have them.
So you get them
Oh, so
every day,
daily.
so it's
Okay.
actively,
Daily, but larger bulks.
so there's no hold on the info. It comes straight to you. Okay.
So just biggest increases every week.
How many people in your office are able to process these? And we have 3 full-time personnel in that office. At the time, you had 2 staff assigned to that process?
At the time of what?
Between January till right now.
Oh,
Or
so
till
just you
January.
and one other person was,
Brandon,
oh,
All 3 can.
can do it.
3 of them can
Question
do
on the
it.
questions, there's 3, there's a election administrator and 2 just assistants, deputies. And all 3 are trained to enter or update voter registration in Dale County.
Are you looking through something? What do you, oh,
These are questions that I asked Mr. Torres.
okay.
And he answered. I'm just reviewing to see if I can spur my memory. In these questions, I did ask Mr. Torres if he could commit to clearing the backlog in 3 to 4 business days. He said he could work on it immediately, but obviously that got shut down by the state. So that, you know. But it seems that it could be cleared in 3 to 4 business days, which was also the Secretary of State's opinion. If it was prioritized properly.
I mean, if y'all did like 400 and something of them, like, I would imagine, is it just like pushing a button, or do you have to go in there and if one of them pops up, you just,
each one.
is it automatically filled, like it's all of the fields are Like it imports in last name, first name, their
Just
address.
have a line across with all of their information, it's already been pre-populated there. When we click on to process it, that's when we just comparison of if they're already in the system or not. But then just go through the process, look up the streets. Match the address ranges to the specific street and then stuff. Generates. Card to be printed and with CPS application from state portal, we could at that point. Download copy of the application. So we don't have an application until we finish the process.
Yeah. Okay. We're caught up except for what you had from May. Right?
Yeah, everything that got worked down into the May election. So that problem, I didn't obviously go back up. And then it got worked back down to our problematic. And just need to get the information for our problematic, filled in so that we can process everything.
So mathematically, the way that I see it, if it takes 2 to 3 minutes per, if we just say 3 minutes per 600, that's 1,800 minutes, then you get. So it's 30 hours to process that with one person.
When all of the information there, it's with, then when we're having to sit there and. You don't have all of the information that are available to us, we're working through. GeoCat, we're working through Eagle Beat, we're working through Google Map and then whatever information we just want, this will try and.
So on the
build
daily,
our streets that, you know.
on the daily basis, do you have someone like their first duty of the day is to work on X, Y, and Z? Or is there a schedule of operations in your office?
Are in charge of making sure that. Facets on the dashboard that are works throughout the day. GPS did one of those facets. At times the state's like, we want you to make sure all this is cleared out, worry about this, that, here, then. So, you know, we're constantly working with things that the state wants us to clear out, so really, that's their bread and butter, is just working and clearing out that more daily as much as possible.
So, and again, I do want to go back to the things that are given to you guys not on the DPS portal, because the only way I ever knew about this was because SOS called. Right now, how many paper applications or mailed in applications are unprocessed?
I know I have a stack of mail on my desk for one day, currently, whatever was possible, I lost my.
So we don't know.
It's not a terrible amount as far as physical. Papers.
The I want to go back to day. So there's no set so and so is working on such and such today or whatever. What are the other duties? We're focusing so much on the DPS portion of this. I want to know what other duties you guys got going on in that office.
So in the dashboard is where we're doing our board today comes from the state, obviously, as part of that, Texas Online, that's where, say, just go to. Go Texas.gov, just straight up pressure with that, and that exploded to various state and it's distributed from there as well. Same as DPS, that one doesn't even have so many, based on the family. That's a road, one get 40 on the highest. What else is it?
So you get applications from Texas Online, from DPS, from mail-ins, from walk-ins. What other source?
There's also. Our felonies listing, our duplicate process, incompletes.
And we're talking about non-election times. Obviously, during election times, we know your workflow and processes change
Yeah.
greatly. I'm talking about like now. Yeah.
Besides registration, what else is going on in y'all's office that could keep y'all from processing these applications quicker? Like, are y'all right in the middle of doing something?
Nothing pressing currently. I mean, we are obviously waiting to back up. We are waiting for that to come back so that we can recode the ESD. We recoded that when I first took over the office, we backed myself and in this time, voting's gone.
So, excuse me. Ignorance on the subject, but when you say recode, like what are we talking about? Is this a week-long process? Is this a day-long process?
So ESD, the majority of the county fall under ESD, exception of those city, those girls. So there was an election shortly thereafter I taken over, where one of the ESDs had the election and went to run the report, there was no coding showing ESD. So we had to go in and go street by street and each breakdown segment in that street and designate an ESD code so that when we generate a list, it would populate everybody on specific streets as ESD. So we recoded all of that. Don't recall how long it took us. We had help with assistant city manager that was able to extrapolate information from shape files, of course. They gave us that.
I mean, like
So,
months?
it took us about a month and a half, more than likely, to go through that. It gets more hairy when you get to the actual edges of like Hillsborough Whitney, because that's where the breaks happen. You have split streets and stuff like that. So we're gonna have to do that again very soon.
But when you split streets, isn't it like all the odds are on one side, all the evens are on the other?
Yes, but like if you have one road running out of town and it goes past where the cutoff is, it's going to be to where.
Oh, it would stop at one number and yeah, you gotta,
It picks up.
gotcha.
So this is out of issue.
Right. Gotcha.
So we had to break the street down that.
I'm trying.
So that's something that another project we're gonna have to do. Yes, we want to have election with us. To have a member, so that's something we'll have to be work on since this is the back.
Well, to the chair's question, what have you done in preparation for the constitutional amendment commission?
Nothing currently just yet.
So no ballot creation. You know, got language from Secretary of State, and have you contacted polling locations to be sure?
This already ready to get in contact.
But
When will that election be?
November.
Oh, okay.
everybody. 1 week before,
So,
not for long. Tomorrow. The week of.
Do we have any other questions?
So what do y'all do when you get somebody who's registered or they register and then it's not the correct address, that, how do y'all handle that? Cause I know I send out 2,000 letters and I've gotten back at least 150 that says no such address from the post office box. So how does,
Where are you now?
here in Hill County,
I know, but where?
all over the county,
This is Whitney.
well, it's through this post office.
This is a little worse, yeah, Whitney.
it was.
Nothing.
So I know that's a lot of those addresses that they have to look up.
If for whatever reason we can't process it, it goes through a rejection process, and hopefully they gave us a good address that we can send a mail correspondence back to them for an address confirmation. But a lot of times we're in the same boat as you thought, we have a bad address, but we have to send it back to that address.
The only way they can verify that address is when they mail out a voter registration card, and if it comes back as undeliverable, at that point, then it kind of triggers a question.
At that point, we can put them in suspense and hopefully when they come and vote in the next election, it'll trigger them to actually without state president, so. Or
And just because the big part comes back, does not necessarily mean that that's not where we live.
Or unless Mr. Moore says when the card comes back, if the post office has another address. on there, like saying this is where we're at now, we can turn around and.
Well, I understand that, that's for an address, but you know, you're saying that she's having problems coming from 911, and I understand that, because when I was the mayor at Bynum, Karen had to come out and do every single address. And then she was supposed to get with the post office so they could have their correction, and post office here and in Bynum both told me they don't always get that from her. So is that one of the issues they're having is,
At that, and I know I applied for that they were supposed to have all of their addresses redone by Karen. And that process was started, and then they backed out. So we'll get stuff out of my book that, you know, 911 had one address, but then it's just giving us something else.
yeah,
What?
Can I ask you just something very to the question, or to the point question, and I'm not trying to be rude, but is there a world where you say, you know what? The 600 that didn't get processed, that's on me. It's because we just didn't do it. Or is there a reason why? Is there? No,
I mean, just to get information, sure enough, I should not put off the gas as far as making sure the guy who's paying up with all of this. That is on me. Going forward, expecting something, if one falls in on they back, or making sure that all of these tasks are completed in certain amounts, so for a certain amount. In any one of those areas that get really deeper through the portal. Say, I would say that for threshold, we DPS is at 125, that should be finished today.
Well, so piggybacking on this question, exactly.
Mhm.
Aside from the concerning thing, aside from my reputation with Secretary of State, which I find very concerning. Right now, at 2 to 3 minutes, it'd take about 30 hours of work, assuming that each one took 2 to 3 minutes. Double it to say we got to work through the problem. So that's 2 weeks worth of work to catch up right now. I cannot comprehend how, if this was a daily assigned task, how you could ever get behind if it only takes 2 to 3 minutes. Once saying we fixed it and got to 0. I cannot comprehend how you could possibly get behind if it was a daily assigned task to multiple people. I know the amount of data that your office pushes and your office pushes is much more than that, and they're able to accomplish it. Now they have more staff, but again, I think the data is times 10, 20 times the amount that they're pushing through. And usually takes a little longer to work. Do you agree with that? Is that an accurate statement? All right.
Is there the Secretary of State, if you had questions for her, could you call her back?
Yes.
Okay. That was,
Yes, I've got her phone. And she did encourage contact. She was very pleased that I was very receptive to her call. She was relieved, I think, would be the proper term. Any more questions? Discussion? Okay, so we'll go ahead and move to item number 2, which would be executive session according to Texas Government Code 551.074. So just the board or just the commission will stay, and we'll turn off. If Miss Christie, if you could have them turn off to where we're not live either.